Well, I guess you could say the pirate's life isn't quite the easy life. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I'm Andrew. Today I got another book review for you, but before we get to that book review, make sure you are liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates when I put out new content. Post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that said, today's book review is going to be one of the best books that I read last month, and that, or is it this month? Who knows at this point, but that's going to be Arm of the Sphinx by Josiah Bancroft. Guys, this was a fantastic sequel to an already great book. But before we get into this, I will be talking about the end of Senlin Ascends in order to set up and talk about the events of Arm of the Sphinx. So if you have not read Senlin Ascends, do yourself a favor, go read Senlin Ascends, then come back and watch this video. Or, I'm not the boss of you, you can do what you want. So, that said, you have been warned, and 1, 2, 3, let's go. Now, at the end of Senlin Ascends, essentially Goal has just conscripted and kind of trapped Senlin in this role as the, portmaster for that particular ring of the tower. And Senlin's just kind of biding his time, trying to save Adam's sister Valletta. And, he's trying to slowly worm his way in with Irene. And he's just kind of setting things up so that he can get out and get to Mariah. And everything goes to hell in a handbasket, but they do get away. And in the middle of this, you don't kind of know what they're going to end up doing. Because there are only 5 people on the Stone Cloud, I believe is the name of their airship. And so this kind of book starts off of, what have they been doing in this time after they have stolen an airship and escaped kind of servitude. And what's really interesting is they've become privateers or pirates, and but knowing Senlin, because now he's a wanted man, so we got to call him by his proper name, Tom Mudd. He's using this name to kind of stay incognito because he is still wanted by the commissioner. And so they're going around and just being very polite pirates and not taking more than they need. And this has kind of worked for a little bit because, Senlin's not afraid to make himself seem like a fool in order to do what needs to be done to support his crew. And that's very, very, very interesting and cool because, the tower turns people heartless. And Senlin is still unwilling to kind of fully give himself up to the tower. And so he is fighting for his friends, he is fighting for his crew, and he is dealing with all this while going mad. Essentially, at the end of the last book, he had packed the ever-important painting into a box full of crumb and kind of booby-trapped it, and so it blew up into the Red Hand's face, which we learn a lot more about that in this book, but I'm not going to really touch on that. And he got a very, very high dose of this very addictive, very mind-altering drug. And so Senlin is just kind of dealing with visions of his lost wife, always just kind of berating him or doing weird things, like making him see things or saying mean things about his friends. And it's just kind of crazy that he is holding it all together, and basically without the help of Edith, everybody would think Thomas is just crazy. And what's really cool about this book is Senlin Ascends was very much Senlin's book. We kind of pull back here in Arm of the Sphinx, and we start focusing on the crew a lot more. We get it becomes a multi-POV story, and we really get into what's, Adam and Valletta and Irene and Edith and all of their relationships and how they work as a found family within the overarching, Tower of Babel series. Or the Books of Babel, sorry, Tower of Babel, Books of Babel. You know what I meant. But we really get to see how they interact as a group and everything that is involved. Essentially, one of my sticking points early in this book was the fact that when I think of a tower, I'm just thinking of a tower and how the airships and how they haven't been found yet. And what I quickly realized is I needed to change my perspective on what the Tower of Babel or Babel. Again, the narrator says it one way, everybody else says it the other way. how I perceive that, because the walls of the tower are very, very thick. If you remember at the ground level of the first book, it's like a quarter-mile thick. And so I had to restructure it into kind of almost like I was thinking of the Tower City in the Stormlight books, whose name is escaping me right now. It shouldn't, but it does. But essentially, I'm thinking of each individual ring as city-sized. And because at the beginning of this book, we don't quite know how many rings there are. And as, you know, we picture how big those ringdoms are, we can picture how easy it would be to kind of lose an airship, and how you can hide, and, you know, with different elevations. And if it's a city circumference, that's a really, really big tower. And so once I had that fixed in my mind, I was off to the races. This was a fantastic book where we just really get to explore these characters and get enriched. You know, we get to understand, like, Iron's insecurities and how, you know, she's dealing with the fact that she's not the most attractive of women. She's older, she's childless, and she's kind of found herself in this found family and situation. We get to deal with the fact that Valletta has never really had to grow up. She's always had Adam kind of standing over her shoulder, trying to protect her, when really she doesn't think that she really needed protecting. And we get to deal with Adam realizing, you know, I am being this overbearing big brother. I need to kind of pull back and let her be her own individual. She's very, very capable. She's, while impulsive, usually comes out on top. We get to deal with Edith, dealing with her insecurities, and with this kind of interesting relationship that she's got going on with Senlin. A lot of Edith and Senlin's interactions are them dealing with each other, because they're kind of the parents of the group, you know. Because for Edith's age, or Iron's age, excuse me, she never learned to read. She's always just been this bruising fighter. And now, you know, Senlin started teaching her to read and think for herself at the end of the first book. And it's really, really great to kind of see Senlin kind of step up and take responsibility and be that responsible adult. Even if he's not making the right choice, he's still making a choice. And Edith has kind of just been like, hey, this is how a ship runs, this is how a crew runs. And so we see them kind of try and survive as pirates very early on in this book. And then later, you know, of course, situations occur and they have to seek a new port. But because no other port will have them, because the Stone Cloud isn't really the most prettiest ship, they don't have the best cargo, because really they only take what they need to keep it in the air and to keep themselves with a full belly. They're not really in it for money, they're just kind of in it to survive. And we kind of see them go try and seek out the Golden Zoo. And once we get to the Golden Zoo, we meet Luke Marat, who is a kind of fallen servant of the Sphinx. We keep hearing about this mythical Sphinx, this individual who is like this technological genius and builds machines. And a long time ago, the ring where the Golden Zoo is located, it's the Silk Gardens, I think is what it was called. I read this a couple of weeks ago, so names are kind of fuzzy. But basically, the Silk Gardens were it was just kind of a neutral ring. And the ring above and the ring below kind of contested ownership of this ring. It was kind of like a pleasure ring where you could go and walk through gardens or go to a mechanical zoo and things of that nature. And like those two ringdoms went to war. And then they just kind of abandoned it at the end of the war. And so the Hods have just been kind of congregating here. And they're all led by Luke Marat, who is kind of looking to start this kind of revolution. And so once again, they find themselves in hot water where they have to escape. And from there, we kind of learn more lore about the tower. We learn more about the Sphinx. We learn more about Marat. And we kind of learn this is a growth book, it feels like to me. I haven't started Hod King yet. I've kind of got it over right here out of screen for a October TBR. But I am super excited to get to it just because of everything that is set up here in Arm of the Sphinx. We get a lot of the deeper mysteries kind of solved here. Or I wouldn't say they're solved. We start to get those answers to this book. And overall, I just really, really enjoyed this book. A lot of the issues that I had in the first book get resolved here in Arm of the Sphinx. Essentially, if you don't vibe with Senlin as the main POV, well, because we branch out into the rest of the crew, we can slowly kind of, you can put Senlin kind of on the back burner. And I mean, there's a section of this book towards the end where Senlin isn't even in it for like a good 50 pages. He's just off doing his own thing, and we kind of really get to sit with these other characters. So I give this a solid 5 out of 5. This was a really, really enjoyable read for me. I thought the pacing was better. I thought the intrigue was better. I thought it had better action. I thought it had better characterization. I thought I understood this world a lot better. And overall, this book was just a really, really delightful read to me. Overall, I can't wait for Hod King. I can't wait for the Fall of Babel. I am going to just plow through this series. It gets a very, very high recommendation from me. So, that said, guys, this is the end of my review for Arm of the Sphinx. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of Arm of the Sphinx. Are you excited for the rest of the series? Will you be continuing the series? Let me know what you loved best about Arm of the Sphinx in the comment section down below. And as always, make sure to check the description for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord. We would love to have you. We are hosting some read-alongs. We are starting to talk about launching a readathon early next year. We have just got book giveaways. We have got reading sprints. We have just got general bookish discussions. We've got gift wars. We've got just all sorts of things going on in the Discord. And we would love to have you there with us. So, till next time, guys. Peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.